Before we dive into today's episode, there's a special offer happening this month I don't want you to miss. If you've considered coaching support but can't possibly fit another meeting into your schedule, my calendar-free accountability package is the answer, including flexible check-ins through a messaging app for on-demand support. This subscription is half off through December 19th with a bonus clarity call to get you started. Book now and lock in the discounted rate for the lifetime of your subscription. Go to positivelyproductive.com/coaching. Reducing capacity intentionally is how we preserve our energy for what matters most. And that includes us. And when you choose intentionally to reduce capacity instead of getting to the end of the year and realizing you tried to do too much and you couldn't do it anyhow, you'll thank yourself. It'll feel so much more positive, and the results will be very much the same. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and today we're talking about something that shows up every December. That push to end the year strong. You end up having to push so hard to get to the finish line, to accomplish all the things by this calendar year deadline, and it's utterly exhausting. In addition to standard deadlines, the loose ends, the expectations, all of those things already on our plates, for many of us, the holiday season is layered right on top of it all, like the icing on the overwhelm cake. That's been the experience of so many of my clients, and it's been my experience in the past as well. But why does it have to be that way? How do we slow down without stopping? How do we handle what truly needs to get done without sacrificing our sanity, our sleep, and our joy? This is supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, and for so many reasons, it doesn't feel like that. Today, it's time to talk about how to finish the year well without burning ourselves out. So if you're feeling pressure, fatigue, or frustration right now, you're in good company and you're right where you need to be. Why do we keep burning out at the end of the year? Well, the end of the year brings a very unique kind of pressure. This calendar year is a deadline that's built into so many of our structures. We're closing out projects. We're preparing for new ones for the beginning of the year. We're finalizing finances, coordinating schedules. We're attending events, and we're trying to wrap up the year, holiday pun sort of intended, in ways that feel meaningful and productive. And then there's the fact that this is all happening during the holiday season. Even if you don't find the holidays particularly stressful, the mental and logistical load increases significantly. School events, gatherings, travel plans, meal prep, extra errands. There are so many decisions to make, and it can feel like an extra layer of obligation on an already challenging schedule, since these demands don't replace your responsibilities, they're in addition to them. As if that isn't already a recipe for burnout, this all happens in a season when our energy naturally dips, at least for those of us in the northern hemisphere. Winter is not a time of peak productivity for our bodies and our brains. The cold temperatures and lack of light encourage us to slow down, yet we feel compelled to do the opposite, to rush and to push. There's a story we're told about this kind of push that makes it seem noble somehow. Again, that finished the year strong. It sits perfectly in that hard work narrative where you feel proud to have that strong finish, despite the fact that it results from personal sacrifice. Or maybe because it does. We're convinced that this push is not only noble, it's effective. and that if we just put in the extra hours, the nights, the weekends, the early mornings, we'll magically get ahead. We'll get it all done. I'm sorry to say, that's not true. It's actually wrong. I mean, not only realistically are we not getting it all done, we know this already, and it's one of the frustrations that we have. It's one of the things we talk about all the time here. How do we handle that? How do we manage it? Not only getting things done, but managing the mindset of the fact that we can't get it all done. So, how do we handle that? But here's the thing. More hours don't automatically lead to more productivity. So that's not the answer. And it's especially not the answer in the long term. Chris Bailey, the author of The Productivity Project, studied this extensively. In his research, he found that working long hours makes you more productive only in the short run. He wanted to take this idea of these super long work hours that we tend to have, people who feel more productive or believe that they're going to be more productive if they're working all of these extra hours. Here's the thing, over time, productivity drops sharply. He cites research showing that after several weeks of 60-hour work weeks, the total output only equaled that of 40-hour weeks. He also found that optimal hours of work per week were actually less than the standard 40 as well. But the most important takeaway from this is that all that extra time and effort, in this case, 20 extra hours per week, produced no meaningful increase in results. Let me say that again. 20 extra hours per week didn't do anything, didn't add to meaningful increase in results. The bottom line? The only increase was burnout risk. So why do you suppose they had these findings? It's because our brains hit cognitive fatigue long before the to-do list ends. We push past our limits for too long, our focus drops, our accuracy drops, and with it, so too do our creativity and our patience. Again, the only thing increasing is our stress. We think pushing ourselves will help us catch up. We feel better about it. We're confident it will make a difference. But the science, as well as our lived experience, if we're being honest, tells us the exact opposite. So let's talk about slowing down. In last week's episode, we covered that fully and why it's actually productive. And in a recent strategy session I did with Naomi Lehrman, where I coached her live for you to hear. So if you want to be a fly on the wall and hear what it's like to be coached by me, definitely check out that episode. She and I explored the idea that we can expand or contract our schedule to honor our capacity. I get that the idea of slowing down can be scary, especially when you already feel so far behind and now you have more added to your plate. But it's crucial that you don't conflate slowing down with stopping. Slowing down is strategic. It's how we preserve energy for what matters. It's how we create space to think clearly, prioritize effectively, and make intentional and specific choices. And it's actually how we get more done in less time. We catch up to a lot of the slowing down because of the quality of the work that we do. And slowing down doesn't mean abandoning goals. It means adjusting your pace to match your energy and your reality, which again gives you the quality work that you need. And this is why seasonal systems matter so much. Your life changes, your responsibilities change, your capacity changes in each season. And so too must your systems change along with them. So how do we balance those real responsibilities we have with the real human limits we're dealing with? The two-part approach that I recommend is 1, reduce capacity where possible, and then 2, use intentional sprinting for the work that really needs to happen. Now, reducing capacity, we talked at great length last episode about this. I jokingly advise that one of the best ways to check off things on your to-do list is by deleting them, by removing them. But that doesn't mean that you don't ever do them. It means deciding when is best for you to do the thing. That's the distinction I think we forget sometimes with a to-do list. It's not just what to do, but you have to decide when to do it. So before you commit to doing everything, in your mind or on that list, pause and ask, what actually needs to happen right now? What actually needs to happen before year end? Really? If you're multi-passionate or deeply responsible or both, it might feel like everything needs to happen before year end. Everything's essential, but it isn't. And remember, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And the thing is, what needs to be done right now isn't everything. Not in December, and actually not most months. So I want you to try asking yourself, what can actually wait until January? What can't wait but could be simplified? What can be outsourced or shared? Could I get help with? What could be done just good enough? Not perfectly, just enough to get it done and out of the way. And what commitments do I have that I could reduce or delay reasonably and people would understand? There's a lot of overlap in these questions, but I want you to ask yourself these questions in different ways. And it does go with the 4Ds that I've talked about before, that framework. After you have done your mind sweep, after you have your list in front of you, that's not really your to-do list. It's your to-choose list. You want to go through this framework and think about what can be deleted, delegated, delayed, and then what you need to do. So these questions really touch upon that. And if you are curious about that 4D framework, I do have that checklist as part of the package of the guided mind sweep package. You can find that on the resources page of the positivelyproductive.com website. That's where I have a guided audio to guide you through a mind sweep, the workbook that accompanies it, and the 4D checklist framework as well. There's a reason that the phrase, let's circle back after the holidays, has become so popular in corporate culture. It was one of my favorite things to do. And there's a cutoff point, realistically, where you won't necessarily have the right people around or the resources available for certain projects, so it doesn't make sense to keep trying to push through. Consider that same idea for projects and tasks of your own as well. Ask yourself, what can you circle back to after the holidays? And give yourself breathing room that you need and deserve. Reducing capacity intentionally is how we preserve our energy for what matters most. And that includes us. And when you choose intentionally to reduce capacity instead of getting to the end of the year and realizing you tried to do too much and you couldn't do it anyhow, you'll thank yourself. It'll feel so much more positive, and the results will be very much the same. Now, the second part of this is something new, but it's not new to my clients. It's this idea of intentional sprinting. Once you've trimmed your commitments to what truly matters, you've reduced what you have on your list to match capacity. It's time to approach those priorities with an intentional burst of energy, not a hustle. This is what I like to call sprinting. And it's not the same as hustling, and here's how. Hustling is a prolonged push driven by pressure. It's this constant thing. There's no rest in sight. It's just hustle and grind often go together, right? So this is just pushing hard. This is forcing, not finessing. Sprinting is honoring the fact that sometimes we need to push to get something done, but it's short term, it's focused, it's purposeful bursts of energy expenditure, and it's always paired with recovery. A sprint might be 25 to 45 minutes of deep work, one task completed with full focus, a half day of structured work with regular breaks. It depends on the kind of project you have. A sprint could be getting all the wrapping done for your holidays, or a sprint could be decluttering a space or finishing up a project or a chapter that you want to write, or, some kind of batch project that you want to do. Like, I'm going to be sprinting to get podcast episodes done in order to be able to take a break during the rest of my holiday season. There's a lot of different ways you can apply sprints to your projects. The key to a successful sprint is you choose one priority This is not for a bunch of stuff. This is one singular focus. You define the sprint before you start so you know what's involved, and this way you don't have like scope creep. You work with intention. You know what you're trying to get done and what success will look like. And you rest and reward yourself afterward. You can see how this kind of sprinting can work so well throughout the year, but it's especially important right now as you are trying to get meaningful and purposeful things done before the end of the year. Intentional sprints let you produce that meaningful work and meet the deadlines while still staying aligned with your energy and not fighting it. Now, what happens when more keeps piling on? Because that's also part of our reality. At the end of the year, more may be added to your list, but before you say yes to those things, and I am talking about things where you have a bit more say in it. I realize that when you are working for someone, you may not have as much control, but there are many places where you do have control and you do have consideration of this. So ask yourself, does this truly need to be done before the year ends? Does it matter to me, or is it driven by outside expectations? Sometimes that's important to make a choice and be able to remove it. Sometimes it's important to understand the why behind it, which will help you in figuring out how to sprint to get it done. Ask yourself, what happens if I delay or deny it? Realistically, and can I live with that? Can I do it, but maybe do it in a different way? Whether it's simplifying it or whether the effect of it could be done with something differently entirely that might be easier for me. And do I have the energy for this? Or will I need a sprint and recovery plan? And do I have time to add another one in? As you finish the year, may I remind you that finishing exhausted and burnt out isn't worth it. You don't need to collapse at the finish line to prove anything, and you don't get extra credit for pushing yourself harder. Doing less with intention often leads to better results anyway. Finishing gently is still finishing. It may feel like cheating when you are so used to pushing yourself so hard that collapsing at the finish line is what you're used to. But I promise you, it feels so much better to be able to get to that finish line and feel good. And your January self will thank you. If today's conversation resonated with you and you'd like ongoing support in creating a burnout-proof life and business, I invite you to join my newsletter, which you can find on the resources page of the positivelyproductive.com website. That's where I share deeper insights on energy-friendly systems, seasonal productivity, shame-free strategies you can personalize week by week. You can request to be a VIP and receive the newsletter right to your inbox, and also access the resources that we talked about today on the resources page of the positivelyproductive.com website. I'd love to have you join our community of compassionate productivity seekers. And if you want to explore more of these topics right now, the episodes that I mentioned today that are in the show notes are How Slowing Down Makes You More Productive, End Overwhelm Through Intentional Scheduling with Naomi Lerman, that's a strategy call, and Make Your Holiday Season Less Stressful with the 80-20 Principle. Thanks for listening today. I'm grateful you're here, choosing a gentler, grounded way to finish the year. Until next time, take a deep breath and finish this year in a way that honors you. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. I hope this episode inspired you, and I encourage you to think about one action you can take based on today's topic. Then share it with me so I can cheer you on. Go to positivelyproductive.com to connect with me, read blog posts, and access links from each episode and download resources.